Welcome humans to episode 2 of the 90s hip-hop show A-Z Til Infinity. This week's podcast is brought to you by the letters C and D and the number 69.
Well, as Optimus Grime just said, this is episode 2 of A-Z Til Infinity, and we have reached the letters C and D. Well, saying that, we might not get to D in this episode, but let's see how we go. I'm your host, MC Dan Collacott, and I'm here with my fellow crew members, Dr. Sutherland and DJ Jazzy Mirza. So,
I'll take that. That's good. I like that.
Are you Funk All-Stars ready to do this shit again?
Yes.
Sure.
Yes. What's the cool? There's got to be a cooler way of agreeing to that, but yes. Oh, that sounded terrible.
So I think our 90s C list is a darn sight better than our A list. But yeah, I'm going to go through them. As ever, there's no specific order or preference to this, but we have Cannabis, we have Cellar Dwellers, we have Common Sense, we have Coolio, Cypress Hill, Camp Low, Capone and Noriega, Capadonna, Charlie Baltimore, Chi Ali, Chino XL, Compton's Most Wanted, the Coffee Brothers. I mean, that's one I've literally never thought I'd ever read out. Craig Mack, Crooklyn Dodgers, Chubb Rock, and CL Smooth. And if I got any of the pronunciations wrong on those, then yeah, apologies. So I'm going to go over to my man TJ, and yeah, what out of this list of unlikely heroes miscreants resonated with you during the 90s?
So I'm actually going to start this off by saying, my God, this was so much easier than from the last episode. That was truly rough. But yeah, so some really big hitters in that list there. Craig Mack, Common Sense, Coolio, Cypress Hill, Camp Low, of course. I mean, I'm sure lots of people know all those names, but for me, CL Smooth was the one that kind of really stuck out for me, and in particular, CL Smooth's work with Pete Rock, Mecca and the Soul Brother, and Main Ingredient, both in kind of the early to mid 90s. Two incredible albums. I think CL Smooth as well. I think he was really underrated. His skills on the mic were just totally underrated, and he had one of the. I mean, the guy's name is CL Smooth for a reason. His flow is just phenomenal. His wordplay is incredible, and it always felt to me like one of those rappers that didn't really get the appreciation for his skills as a rapper as many others did at the time. I mean, he hooked up with Pete Rock, one of the greatest rap producers ever, in my opinion. And I kind of feel a little bit shortchanged that they didn't do more together, but I think they had a falling out after their second album and didn't talk to each other for years for whatever reason. But if I'm gonna give CL Smooth and Pete Rock a shout out, the reason for that predominantly is for the most incredible hip hop tune, possibly probably my second favorite hip hop tune of all time. That one. Although that sounded like a
like a trumpet,
yeah, really
not the sax.
Trumpet. Exactly, yeah.
Trumpet.
It sounded like the children's TV version of it.
I've been practicing 6 months on an actual trumpet for that, and so all that
sounded like remember that kid show Trumpton that used to be on like BBC when you were little, and had like a really had a weird trumpet as a theme. Anyway, we're getting off course.
Sorry.
So yes, one of the most incredible hip hop tunes, possibly my second favorite hip hop tune of all time. They reminisce over you. Uh, Troy, it's just a phenomenal track, an incredible sample. The flow, the lyrics, just every time I hear it, I get goosebumps. I could, it's one of those tunes I could never get tired of hearing or listening to. And it's just a phenomenal piece of work, and it's a shame that we can't play a sample right now because we'll probably get struck off. No, that's what happens to doctors. We'll probably get in trouble for licensing. But if you've not heard it, dear listeners, go out of your way to whatever music streaming service or head down to your local HMV. I probably can't do that. But yeah, have a listen to Pete Rock, CL Smooth. They reminisce over you. Just a phenomenal piece of work. And for that alone, that would have probably have put CL Smooth as my favorite. But the rest of that album's incredible as well. Mack and Soul Brother is the one with They Reminisce Over You.
Nice.
And Main Ingredient is their second album. It did really well. It didn't do quite as well, but there's some great tracks on there. Gotta Love, Take You There, Searching. Again, incredible samples. Pete Rock is just an absolute magician when it comes to production. And then you throw CL Smooth's lyrics on top of Pete Rock beats, and you've just got magic. So, yeah, that is my C pick.
That is a pretty awesome call out. Imran, what do you think about CL Smooth?
I'm the song. I mean, Troy, all praise, love in the world to that. I always get surprised. I always kind of forget that it's 92. Like, I can't believe it's, as old. I would have thought, a few years on from that. But just it's a masterpiece of a song. I can't think what, because I'm an inlay card guy. I've always have been. So, like, from a producer perspective, I can't imagine what it's like when you stumble onto it, not just the sample, but when you put the whole track together. What a moment that had to be. Just I think when Pete Rock, I imagine he's done that and he's thinking, if that's not gold, then I don't know what is. That's just one of his signature tunes, and he has an amazing catalog as well. I don't make it too much about Pete Rock. Obviously, this is a rapper discussion, but yeah, he's a masterpiece. Just to shout out, Pete Rock since then has done loads of a good series of instrumental albums that he's done, which are just fantastic and well worth people's attentions. But of CL Smooth, I don't know a tremendous amount. I have a handful of songs like featuring that he did. I've got a track he did on Pete Rock's first solo album in like 96, 97. It's a cool tune, actually. It was nice to see them reignite their chemistry on a track called The Two. But yeah, no, CL Smooth, yeah, probably you're absolutely right, probably underrated, and it's certainly a shame that he didn't kind of come into his own beyond Pete Rock and CL Smooth like Pete Rock obviously did. So but yeah, an absolutely fantastic pick.
Excellent. Well, why don't we go over to our favorite robot, Optimus Grime, to give us a few more facts on CL Smooth.
Corey Brent Penn Sr., known by his stage name CL Smooth, is best known as the vocal half of the hip-hop duo Pete Rock and CL Smooth. Alongside Native Tongues, he is credited as being part of the East Coast movement that delivered a more conscious style of rap, in contrast to the gangster rap stylings of the same era. In 1992, Pete Rock and CL Smooth released their acclaimed debut, Mecca and the Soul Brother, on Elektra, and followed up with the equally awesome The Main Ingredient in 94. They are famous for collaborating with and remixing artists including Public Enemy, Heavy D, and EPMD. They even produced and performed on Run DMC's 93 comeback single Down with the King. Creative differences saw them split up in 95, but they have collaborated on a handful of tracks since. I can vibe with that. I used to roll with Megatrance until he turned evil. We still occasionally play badminton together, but sadly I don't look as good in tight shorts as Imran.
Right, Imran, So,
Mhm.
what is your VIP for the letter C?
Strong list that you obviously that you've gone through. There kind of no like clear winner for a while. I have gone with Common, who at this point was performing under the name Common Sense for I think for all of the 90s, in 3 albums as well. His first album was released in 92. His masterpiece, which we can't really discuss too much, was like water for chocolate, and this is the album that made me a diehard fan of his at that period of time. But that album came out in 2000, so let's skip right past that and just discuss his releases. But he had a good selection of 3 albums in the 90s. He was already connected to the Roots and had a few songs with them. I did have a minor reluctance to include him. As great as he is, I think that 90s period for him is just a teeny bit divisive, or he was a divisive kind of rapper. He had quite strong opinions. He was noted for a few homophobic lyrics in some of his songs, and there's a line he has when he guested for the Roots for their Things Fall Apart album, I believe 99. It's a really great song that he's on. It's called Act 2, Love of My Life. And he's got a line in there that caused, I mean, to me, I don't know what's so strong about it, but it caused the Roots to include a line saying, in the inlay card, these are Common's views and not ours. Actually, I can't think of a rap album that anyone's ever felt compelled to distance themselves from the lyrics. But
also, if every rapper that said some homophobic or some sexist, misogynistic line in the 90s was to get dragged to the coals, there'd be no rappers left.
Yeah, that's kind of true too.
Like it's hella awkward listening to some 90s rap nowadays.
Some of it is a bit extreme.
It's a bad time.
Yes, yeah. But the line,
Wait to get them to the messes.
Well, the list is endless. It's everybody. Like it's I can't think of anyone, on that level of kind of on that grand stage kind of thing that didn't have even just a backhanded kind of comment about. I think Common said for one of his lyrics that he pulled up for was, "There's rumors of gay rappers, just don't come around me with it." Which isn't necessarily the worst thing someone could say, but it did draw quite a strong. But the line that he said on the Roots album was, I think he was referencing his own fan base, and he was just saying, "All I get is coffee shop chicks and white dudes," kind of as fans. And for some reason, that was proved to be quite a strong, to the point where the Roots said, "Look, that's his opinion. These don't reflect our views." And I thought, wow, there's something like particularly severe about that I'm not really getting. I'm not sure, but it seemed to be a divisive line for him. But yeah, I kind of look at some of his 90s output as just a little bit divisive and a little bit, probably inappropriate at times. But he's amazing, an incredible rapper. He has some wonderful, wonderful tunes, and he's the person that kind of, I think for our C discussion, he's the person that I would have to cite as being the gentleman on that list I would wave the flag for the most.
It's interesting because nowadays I feel like there's a lot of TV series and probably films as well where he plays the same character, which is a kind of security guard or a heavy or the hired muscle in an action film.
I do not wave the flag for him as an actor. Yeah.
Typecast, you say?
Just
surely not.
A little bit, but So TJ, what do you think about Common?
I mean, it's a tricky one for me because, as Imran kind of alluded to, I know most of his stuff from post kind of 2000. So I don't really know much of his 90s stuff per se. I mean, the stuff he did afterwards, like Love Quarter of Chocolate, that sort of stuff. It was, guys got an incredible flow. It's very intelligent. Some incredible lyrics as well. But yeah, I mean, 90s Common, not really that well known to me. I'm not gonna lie. But as an artist, very good. I'm not gonna say too much about his acting because it's us. But he's he's doing his thing, man. He's doing his thing.
Fair enough. I'd say I've never really been a Common fan. I don't think I've ever really followed his work, which is quite criminal. But I did, as a kind of point of conversation for this, I did revisit some of the 90s stuff and even the later stuff, and I was like, okay, this is there's some quality tunes here. I don't know how I sort of missed the boat on that, but it is weird how you have these gaps in your library of artists, and you think, okay, why didn't I? If I listen to almost some of the related artists that he kind of heavily collaborated with, etc., you think, well, why didn't I listen to Common? But yeah, bit of a strange one.
That's a common theme actually, because that's something that doing this series has made me kind of, when the list is generated, I'm like, oh yeah, I don't really follow X person. Should need to check out their stuff. So if nothing else, this is making me kind of really expand my horizons.
Yeah, and make jokes like it's a common theme, which I enjoyed.
Do you know what? I'm such a comedic genius. I dropped that and I didn't even realize I dropped it. So that's how I roll.
Well, it made sense.
It did make sense, and I believe
made common sense.
Thank you. That's what I was aware. I was aware of what I was doing.
But I think
please edit that out. That's terrible.
Well, before we drop any more, let's go over to Optimus Grime, who I believe is good friends with Common.
He loves it.
Lonnie Rashid Lynn, Jr., better known as Common, was the first hip-hop artist to win an Academy Award, Grammy Award, and an Emmy. Common's father was a professional basketball player. He originally performed under the name Common Sense, but in the 90s he shortened it to Common, after a band with the same name sued him. More recently, he transformed himself into an actor and has starred in films from John Wick 4 to Suicide Squad and TV shows, including Silo and Fraggle Rock. If you look as badass as Common, you can definitely dance your cares away and still keep your rapping for another day. I'm sorry, I really can't believe I have to read these terrible jokes. Till all are one.
Okay, so we're doing pretty well here. I think let's kind of hit up my choice, which is the...
Dan, what's your choice?
Well, I'm glad you asked. But it is the titans of hip-hop, the powerhouse of cartoon violence and drugs that is Cypress Hill.
More drugs and violence, but sure.
Well, yeah. I think I kind of fondly remember being at school. I must have been about 13 or 14. And funny enough, as you said, HMV, I think I actually went into HMV and I bought Black Sunday, and I also bought the first Funk Dubious album. So yeah,
man, I was going to mention them as well.
yeah,
Funk Dubious are awesome.
Lose points for that, but yeah, I think they were very much, I guess, in a good way, a gateway group. As I feel like I properly started to get into hip hop about that time, and listening to Cypress Hill, they were so bombastic and accessible with such great samples and such a weird vocal dynamic. I mean, even to this day, you just don't get one guy rapping and then another guy emphasizing that rap with a couple of repetitive words. I don't know if we should do impressions. We probably should.
No. Absolutely.
But yeah, I think they were very kind of cartoony. They were also they had that kind of that they had a bit of a different vibe to them back then, and even through to the sort of late 90s and noughties, they kind of they sort of fizzled out a bit. But I did also enjoy the fact that they did things like Rock Superstar. They were quite happy to do crossovers. They did a lot of movie soundtracks. I know I go on about the Judgment Night soundtrack, but yeah, they were just one of those groups I loved, and and discovering the first album as well, going backwards and thinking, okay, this is awesome as well, and as I said, like in terms of being recognizable, Sendog and Be Real, you see them in anything, and they are just even when they're appearing in The Simpsons, that kind of they're very heavily parodied, but I just love the fact that they're two of the most recognizable hip hop artists. They're obviously have a massive Latino background. I think they're both kind of, well, I think one of them's Cuban born, one of them's Mexican, and I think DJ Muggs, who also got a shout out. He's incredible on production, and I think he's Italian American. He was like about as gangster as you can get if you define your gangsters by the Godfather movies. But but yeah, I think from my childhood, one of the groups that I really, as I said, it felt like they were the candy before I started getting into the main course. Maybe the starters is a better look, but definitely I found myself getting into hip hop as a result of Cypress Hill, and let's not talk about Funk Dubious, but yeah, yeah, let's not go there. But
How do you be?
Insane in the Brain and Ain't Going Out Like That, they were sort of so heavily on rotation on MTV, and I know we always kind of quote that period, but
And how I Could Kill a Man as well.
yeah,
That used to be on loads.
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, TJ, what are your thoughts? Are you're a Cypress Hill addict?
Yeah, well, addicts maybe not so much, but yeah, I think you summed it up quite nicely. Like they were real they're like the bombastic sound, and they were in a sea of like super talented creative artists at the time. They really kind of stuck out in terms of obviously they're super talented as well, but they really, I think, just predominantly from B Real's like vocals and his style was just so it it teetered very close to being annoying, but he was good. It was just good enough at it that he managed to pull it off and not, because it almost sounded a bit like a parody the way he rapped to a certain extent.
Yeah,
Um, but it was, yeah, no, it was super creative, and like the beats and that, it all kind of flowed into the whole kind of stoner kind of persona that they had. Well, persona, they were stoners, but but yeah, it kind of, all of it just kind of worked really well together. And then, like you say, a lot of the crossover stuff that they did, and then like the movie soundtracks, um, they really kind of they brought a lot of fun into hip hop, I think, just because it felt like they didn't take themselves too seriously, and as much as they're from the streets and all that kind of stuff, but there was still a kind of cartoonish fun aspect to to what they did. So um, yeah, and also they brought Funk Dubious into the world for us to enjoy. So that's
uh,
that's a big win. But yeah, no, I like you, I've discovered Cypress Hill predominantly through like MTV. Their stuff was on rotation all the time, always on your raps. I think they appeared on your raps like in interviews and that, possibly more than Public Enemy, and they were always on there. But yeah, no, I'm a big fan of of the Hill.
Actually, Public Enemy is a good comparison, isn't it? If you
How do you
think,
mean?
well, if you think of like you have one guy, Public
Oh
Enemy,
yes, I see what you mean. Yeah,
yeah,
one
it's
wacky guy and one wacky guy and one straight guy, basically.
pretty much.
Yeah,
It feels like they obviously, I don't know if they actually subconsciously or purposely went that route, but it is quite funny how they're quite similar.
yeah.
But Mr. Mers, what are your thoughts on the Hill?
I'm afraid I'm not very well versed on them at all.
Oh,
I knew the big songs. Oh, I'm not hating though, but I knew a lot of the big songs. I purchased the CD single of Rap Superstar. I've got a bunch of featuring that the featurings that they did. I've got a
can I
bunch
call
of
out something? Can I call out something? You said Rap Superstar.
Rock Superstar.
No, no,
But
no.
there was a Rap Superstar, wasn't there?
You're correct. There were
Yeah.
two different versions. I think
Yes.
actually they're the same, but they actually released Rap Superstar for the rap crowd and Rock Superstar
Yes.
for the rock crowd. So yeah, sorry, weird.
It is on the CD single. Yeah, both are, I believe, on the CD single. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I have featurings. I've got more probably Be Real featurings. I've got him. I think the first song I might have got was the Monstar anthem. Is anyone familiar with the Monstar anthem from the Space Jam
From
soundtrack?
Space Jam, yeah.
Brilliant tune.
Yeah.
Redman, no, not Redman, beg your pardon. Method Man, Coolio, Busta Rhymes, LL Cool J, and Be Real. But yeah, that's kind of my. I don't have any. I just never explored the group much beyond what I was just hearing as such. I didn't get that. I've never had an album, and no, that's kind of it, really.
Can I just take a moment to shout out their second to last album that they released in 2018 called Elephants on Acid? Purely for the name of the title of the album. That's all.
Well, this is a kind of consistent thing with them. Their albums became more and more ridiculously named because I think it was only their third album. I could be wrong, but they definitely had an album called Temples of Boom, which you're already kind of in territory you probably shouldn't be. But yeah, Elephants on Acid. That's that's special. I keep trying to practice the noise he makes. The
Please don't.
yeah, red card on that. Excellent. Well, let's one more time go over to Optimus Grime, who can kind of fill us in with some actual Cypress Hill facts.
Cypress Hill are a Latino-American hip-hop group formed in 1988 consisting of Cuban-born rappers Sen Dog and Be Real, who also has Mexican ancestry, alongside the Italian-American DJ Muggs. The trio fused their contrasting vocal stylings with a gangster and marijuana West Coast hip-hop style, whilst mixing Spanish and Latin slang with bombastic beats and classic soul, jazz, and blues samples. They are probably most famous for highly quotable kick-ass singles such as How I Could Just Kill a Man, Insane in the Brain, and Throw Your Set in the Air, and also for mixing hip-hop and guitars on tracks such as Rock Superstar and I Love You, Mary Jane, alongside Sonic Youth, a song taken from the Judgment Night soundtrack. Cypress Hill were the first Latino-American hip-hop group to go platinum and multi-platinum, and are going strong even now. So kick that style, wicked wild, happy face human, never seen me smile. Whip that mainframe, I'll explain. A robot like me is going insane.
Right, hang on. We're doing pretty well here. We're kind of attacking at pace. So actually, starting let's go reverse order. Imran, do you have some honourable mentions from the C list?
I definitely want to shout out Craig Mack, Bad Boy Records rapper, obviously very, very famous for his Flavor in Your Ear track, more notably the remix. Again, an amazing lineup. Busta Rhymes, LL Cool J, Biggie, and Busta Rhymes' cousin Rampage. on the track. Such a wonderful tune. Great video. He was down for early days with Bad Boy Records. He also has a brilliant Q-Tip remix of Get Down, which, my God, if you have not heard it, absolutely got to buy it. Well, you can't buy it, actually. Just do whatever you need to do to get it. But yeah, the Q-Tip remix featuring Q-Tip as well. It's just brilliant tune. I mean, it's a shame. I always thought Craig Mack was going to go on to do much more than sort of he did, which is a shame. But a brilliant rapper, really cool. Had great moments in the 90s. Kind of resurfaced in like 2004, 5, but kind of re-signed to Bad Boy, but for some reason the record never materialized. But yeah, definitely wanted to shout out Craig Mack. Actually, I'll throw to, I think Tej wanted to shout out Craig Mack as well. But yeah.
I mean, not much more. I mean, not to address the. Well, I'm going to address the elephant in the room. I mean, I think we all know why he didn't really progress further than his obvious talent showed, was because there was another rapper that kind of broke through. I don't think he did much though. He was quite small, but anyway, we'll get to him eventually. But yeah, no, it's a shame because, like you say, is Flavor in Your Ear in the remix, and his album Project Front the World was actually pretty good. But
hang on.
yeah.
See, you're going to have to point out, because I'm clueless. So what happened here? Who is the smaller rapper that did him a disservice?
Oh, it's just a little known guy called I think it was Notorious B.I.G. I don't know if you heard of him. He was also on Bad Boy's label, and unfortunately for Mack, to me it was just a case of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. I think if he'd have been perhaps on another label, or had come out a couple of years earlier, he could have perhaps built up a bit of momentum before Biggie came and kind of took over. But yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone's going to try and dispute that Biggie was a more talented rapper.
Well, Craig Mack's album was released a week after Ready to Die, so
I mean,
good luck.
I mean, you just set yourself up for failure there, really, didn't you?
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of says it all, really. So, it's a real shame, and unfortunately, he passed away in 2018 as well. Super young as well. I was like 47, same age as me. Oh shit. So it's a shame that he didn't manage to kind of really take off, but unfortunately, wrong place, wrong time, wrong label. So he didn't really get a chance to kind of really capitalize on the hype that he first broke through on.
It's quite a sad story in hip hop, that one, I guess, really. So TJ, another one of your honourable mentions, despite the fact they've only had one song ever, is the Crooklyn Dodgers, I believe.
Haha. Well, Mr. Collacott, I refute your claim that this pick has only had one release, because they've actually had 3.
Or albums or songs?
Songs. So okay, so right.
Brilliant.
So this is one of my favorite. So okay, the band I'm talking, or the group I'm talking about, is Crooklyn Dodgers, and they did a song called Crooklyn in 1994 for Spike Lee movie called Crooklyn, funnily enough, and it always struck, like, I always loved the track. And the guys that, I mean, it's a proper super group as well. You had Buckshot, Master Ace, Special Ed, and the track was produced by Q-Tip. I mean, that's a hell of a crew to do a track with, and it's an incredible track. Samples are great. Buckshot, Master Ace, Special Ed, really, really super talented rappers. So it was one of my favorite tracks at the time. However, there was there've actually been 3 versions of this group. So first the first collective was Crooklyn Dodgers, as I just explained, but then you also had Crooklyn Dodgers '95. And that was composed of Chub Rock, J. Rue the Damager, and OC. And that track was produced by DJ Premier.
Oh,
And they did a track called Return of the Crooklyn Dodgers, and that was also for another Spike Lee film. So kind of noticing a pattern here. But then there was also a third Crooklyn Dodgers called Crooklyn Dodgers 3. And that was with Jean Grey, Mos Def, and Memphis Bleak. And they did. It was a track that they did on. I forget the guy's name. Ninth Wonder. And they did a track. I don't know how they got the rights to use the name or how that all works, because none of the people that were involved in Crooklyn Dodgers 3 had anything to do with the other 2 groups. I'm not even sure if that name's. I don't know how it works anyway. But yeah, so they did a track called Brooklyn in My Mind. So I wanted to give a honorary mention to them because I love the first. I love Crooklyn as a track. Everyone go out and give it a listen. It's a really cool, smooth hip hop track. And I just thought it was an interesting tale of how the Crooklyn Dodgers were formed and then reformed and then reformed again and had 3 tracks. It's like you put together this incredible supergroup, but then just do 1 track each time. So
amazing. Okay, well, I'm going to give a honourable mention in the form of Coolio, who obviously, very sadly is no longer with us. But yeah, I think when Fantastic Voyage was the first track that I really kind of loved and kind of followed. Again, it's an amazing video on MTV. Obviously, I think most people's kind of experience with Coolio was the song "Gangsta's Paradise," taken from Dangerous Minds, the film with is it Michelle Pfeiffer? Was it Michelle Pfeiffer?
Yeah, Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah, it's a kind of teen high school drama. But yeah, I don't know. I just really, I really loved. I really loved his stuff at that time. He just had a different. Again, it's kind of interesting that he was sort of a slightly more sort of positive, upbeat vibe. He was a pretty cool character, but it definitely had his demons and issues. In fact, I'm going to quickly defer to Optimus Grime to give us a bit of a more layered rundown on Coolio.
Larger-than-life G-Funk rapper, TV, film star, and chef Coolio is best known for hit Grammy award-winning single Gangsta's Paradise, taken from 1995 high school film Dangerous Minds. A year before, he released Fantastic Voyage from debut album It Takes a Thief. The accompanying video was classified as an escapist flight from black urban poverty. Coolio battled asthma, drug addiction, and spent some time in jail for larceny and possessing illegal weapons. The West Coast hip-hop star released 9 albums before his untimely death in 2022, leaving behind 6 children and a large collection of snow domes. If I die before my time, I hope someone will still play with my He-Man figures.
This might be controversial, but I'm not a fan of Gangsta's Paradise.
Do you know what? I was at the time, but now I feel like it's got a little bit too much.
Yeah, I wasn't at the time either. I don't know, it was, something about it just didn't sit right with me. I don't know why. It was nowhere near as bad as Arrested Development. We're not going to start on that again. But it was. I wasn't a fan.
Okay, Imran, were you a Gangster's Paradise fan?
I was. I loved Gangster's Paradise. It was a great song. Lyrically, I think it's a really good song as well. Oh man. Why did you know I would? What does that mean? It's not.
You know why.
I'm not going to explore that any further.
I don't know what's going on now. I think I've lost.
Neither do I.
You think about what you did.
Hang on, TJ. Did you like Amish Paradise, which was the Weird Al Yankovic parody?
I like that immensely more than Gangster's Paradise.
And did you know, seeing as you both seem to, I feel like there's not a podcast that goes by where you don't talk about Space Jam. So did you know that he was on a...
One time that's happened.
Every week.
Every week. Just every week with the Space Jam.
Space Jam.
Fucking love it.
Something Bugs Bunny related. But yeah, there was a track called Hit 'Em High.
That was the Monster Anthem.
That was the Monster Anthem, yeah.
Oh, okay, it was the same one.
Yeah.
Oh. Hit 'em high, hit 'em high, hit 'em high. Yeah, Coolio's in it, yeah.
Yeah,
and he did was it 1, 2, 3, 4 and Too Hot with the
Too Hot, yeah.
With the guy from Kool in the Gang. He was in the chorus of that.
Wasn't he on Big Brother as well?
Yeah. Big Brother, yes, I think he was.
Yeah, holy smokes. Yeah. I'd love to be in that casting room. It's like, yeah, so who should we get in this year? Coolio, yes. Boom.
It didn't go well. I don't know if we want to explore that, but it didn't go. Is that right? Did it not? It didn't go well.
I don't remember. I don't know.
It went well. Did Cisco also do it? Why have I?
Yeah, I think he. You know, I think he might have done.
Yeah,
that sounds about right.
I mean, when we get to F and we start having to talk about Flavor Flav and all the bullshit that guy's done, but we don't know. Let's not use up our energy on that one.
Oof. Speaking of Space Jam, I wonder if Optimus can give us some fun facts about Space Jam right about now.
So, TJ, you hire a mind 1,000 times more powerful than that of any human to dispense facts about a film starring Michael Jordan and the Looney Tunes. Well, I never back down from a challenge. So on the soundtrack, aside from the Monstar anthem Dan has clearly never heard. Oh, and by the way, the song Dan clearly meant to call out was The Winner, which was Coolio's solo track contribution. There were also 2 songs by R. Kelly, one from D'Angelo, and everything from hip-hop, heavyweights, Salt and Peppa, Biz Markie, and even Jay-Z on this crazy record. There is even a track called Basketball Jones, featuring unlikely music buddies Barry White and Chris Rock. They should have called this soundtrack Space Jam, because these guys were smoking something special when they agreed to make it.
So I think I haven't really marked this guy out as an honourable mention, but I feel like we're all kind of marks for the Wu-Tang Clan, aren't we? Hope I have that right. Yeah, obviously Cappadonna, the unofficial 10th member of the Wu. He was on a lot of collaborations. I think he actually appeared on the solo albums. He was on Raekwon's Only Built for Links, and then I think he was on Iron Man with Ghostface Killer, and it was only maybe like I'm gonna say Wu-Tang Forever and Iron Flag, and no Iron Flag he wasn't on because he did fall out with the RZA in the middle of all this. But yeah, he
didn't fall out with RZA at some point.
Well, yeah, it feels like this was the time where they were all arguing about royalties. So I think RZA later clarified that he is actually an official member of Wu-Tang, but only since the album 8 Diagrams, which is like, wow, I mean, that's quite I don't know, it's almost like an honor and a diss at the same time. It's like, okay, 8 Diagrams, which was 2007, but everything else, he wasn't. He was kind of there, but he was just hanging on So I was I always thought that was a bit strange. It's like, well, really, he wasn't, because he kind of was there, but not official. But okay, RZA.
Just hanging out.
Yeah, I'm not a super fan of his solo work.
Yeah, not really. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really follow any of his solo stuff. I mean, there were like 50 bajillion like Wu-Tang solo albums at one point. I mean, trying to track and follow all of the various Wu-Tang solo albums was harder than trying to follow all of the MCU's TV
I was
shows
going to make
and
an
movies.
MCU connection, actually.
So, so yeah, no, Capadonna kind of slipped under the radar for me a bit.
Imran, your feelings on the cat?
Yeah, I echo Tej's comments. I have, if I sat down and looked at how many Capadonna songs I have, like featuring, I imagine it's more than I would have, say, realized. But he's not specifically a rapper I investigated more so. Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have watched any of the documentaries or the kind of TV series that they did. But anyway, apparently he was meant to be in the Wu-Tang from the start, but he went to prison, and that was when he kind of got replaced by Method Man. So yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah. If he hadn't,
That worked out all right.
well, yeah. So yeah, if that hadn't have gone that way, he might have been an official member a lot sooner. Final call out again. This isn't someone who I've followed. Looking into him, there's a lot of interesting stuff. I mean, it's actually Imran is one you had, which is Cannabis.
It is a really interesting story, and I remember hearing it as it was unfolding at the time. It's sort of it's completely stupid, and it's just a really kind of interesting sequence of events that sort of shouldn't have. That none of it was needed, but it was kind of. He's probably someone who delved for glory and in the wrong way. And yeah, he's probably more so a cautionary tale, but he had all the promise and potential in the world, I think.
Well, he seemed to fall out a lot with people. Like he was, because Wyclef Jean was, I think, kind of produced on the first album, and then he fell out with him and was dissing his own album, which is just bizarre. The only song I know of his was Second Round KO.
KO, yeah, that's the only one everyone really.
Yeah, we all know it because it had Mike Tyson on it.
We all know Second Round KO because it was a diss record aimed at LL Cool J.
Yes.
So that's why, and that's what I mean. LL Cool J takes great pride in believing he is the one who ended Cannabis's career. But who could really know? But it was such a funny, because there is the LL Cool J album Phenomenon, which has a song, brilliant tune called 4321, produced by Eric Sermon, featuring DMX, Redman, Method Man, and a fairly newcomer in Cannabis. And that's a great gig for him to have got. An awesome tune. And apparently in the studio, Cannabis was saying, like LL Cool J famously has a tattoo of a microphone on his arm. Cannabis was like, that's so cool, I'm gonna get one. And LL Cool J was like, no, it's kind of my thing, you got to get your own thing, etc., etc. LL Cool J apparently wasn't present when Cannabis recorded his verse, but he recorded his verse and said something about this microphone on the arm, blah blah blah, and LL Cool J took it like, oh, he's going at me. He took it personally. So he recorded a verse that was basically, the recorded version is the diss that he aimed at Cannabis. But so somebody tried to get in the middle of it and say, look, this is a bit silly. So that person reached out to Cannabis and said, look, LL Cool J's taken offense to your verse, would you mind re-recording it? And he said, oh my God, absolutely. I didn't mean any disrespect at all. So he re-recorded his verse, but LL Cool J did not re-record his verse. So the verse of in the song that is out there, it's a bit of a dick move, but the verse LL has used is the Cannabis diss verse, where he references the mic on his arm, and so he never says his name, but it is the diss aimed at Cannabis. When the record comes out, word, as these things tend to do, word spreads, and Cannabis then records Second Round KO. LL Cool J heard that the record was coming out when it was produced by Wyclef as well. He ran into them at some public function and managed to corner them both and say, please don't put this record out. I am on the verge of, he was making moves into Hollywood and films and TV, didn't want the stigma of engaging in a rap battle and anything like that. And he apparently begged them, please don't put this record out. Let's all do a song together. I made a mistake. I was angry and I've acted badly. Please don't put the record out. Cannabis apparently relished having him in the palm of his hand and just said, no, I'm putting it out. So he put the record out. LL Cool J responds immediately with, I think, called The Ripper Strikes Back or something like that, and he savages him. But then he also famously includes the line, you run around town with that Bob Marley imposter. So Wyclef takes huge offense, and then he makes a diss record aimed at LL Cool J, which has the chorus, what's Clef got to do with it? Basically, like, what are you bringing me into? It's getting so stupid now. But he's like, what are you bringing me into it? So he disses LL. LL then does a diss record on Wyclef. Time passes. Cannabis, I don't know what happens, but he sort of fades away. LL Cool J takes credit for it. Him and Wyclef become friends. And Cannabis is left out in the wind. So it's such a bizarre but funny kind of situation. But I don't know. None of it really needed to happen.
I actually have a brilliant quote, one of my favorite hip hop quotes ever, to do with Cannabis. Because apparently, you probably know that you both know this already. He quit, quit hip hop, quit music when he was 28, which is around 2002, and joined the army. So he joined the army. Yeah, okay. It's just brilliant. I couldn't believe I stumbled across this. And he then, to actually quote him, he said, I wanted to do something that gave me a separate definition from what I had done all through my teens and 20s. And then, so obviously he's in the US Army, and 2 years after he joined, he was kicked out after being caught smoking cannabis.
But of course.
Just like, I mean, damn.
Oh my God.
So good. But one of the other things, talking about, I don't know, parallels with Crooklyn Dodgers, he was also in a group, I don't know if you call it a super group, called The Horsemen. I don't know if either of you guys have heard of that.
No.
That had Farrah Monk, Common, funnily enough, Rakim, and Killer Priest. I was like, what the what?
Oh,
What is
quite
that?
lineup.
Yeah, I don't know how much output. I don't know if it was 3 tracks or an album, but yeah, that was quite random. But
so there's 5?
5 5 tracks or 5 members?
Members.
Yeah.
Horsemen are typically 4, right, isn't it? But
well, yeah, that's even more ridiculous. But to be fair, I think I don't know if Killer Priest, it was on Killer Priest's label. I didn't even know Killer Priest had a label. So I don't know at what point Killer Priest was an active member. So maybe not at the start. It's so confusing because, the world of hip hop, things get endlessly re-released and you get versions and remixes and people come in and do different things with it and don't ever change the song title. It's like Naughty by Nature. I feel like they've re-recorded several of their own songs with different the same lyrics but different vocal versions of them, and it's just, I don't know, that is definitely the world of hip hop, isn't it? It's just non-stop tinkering and re-releases and kind of fucking around with your back catalogue, so it is quite difficult to trace when everything actually first happened. Okay, well, is there anyone else on the list that anyone wants to kind of call out or talk about. I mean, I feel like the Coffee Brothers. There's something big. Oh, actually, no, there was one that really confused me. How can there be a hip hop group called Compton's Most Wanted that isn't NWA?
I mean, that's a very good point.
Okay, I'm guessing there's no takers for any other groups and artists in the class of C.
Yeah, I think we've done a valiant job of covering most of the bases.
We have. So, what do you think? Do you wanna power on through to D?
Let's do it.
Imran, you ready?
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you wearing your big boy pants?
Hang on. Now I am.
Excellent. All right.
What were you wearing before? Don't
Little
answer
girl
that. Don't.
pants.
Well, pants.
Literally just said don't answer that.
I am feeling erect. Right.
Oi!
Start with the D list.
Straight onto the D.
Let's move on to the D. So we have D Nice, The Brat, Das Effects, Del the Funky Homosapien, Digable Planets, Digital Underground, Dilated Peoples, Diplomats, DJ Clue, DJ Quick. Actually, they don't really count because they're DJs, so let's ignore them.
No, DJ Quick raps.
Oh, okay.
A lot.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a rapper and producer. But I don't know. DJ Clue, does DJ Clue rap?
I don't know about that one.
But
We'll check back on that with Optimus Grime.
Ernesto Shaw, born January 8, 1975, and better known as DJ Clue, is not a rapper at all. He is an American disc jockey, record producer, radio personality, and record executive according to his Wikipedia. He has remixed and produced tracks for artists such as Missy Elliott, Da Brat, Jay-Z, Faith Evans, Method Man, Nas, and Mariah Carey.
DMX, the incredible Dr. Dre, De La Soul, DJ Jazzy Jeff, and the Fresh Prince.
That's dodgy, that one.
it's not dodgy at all.
Sorry, I just wanted to make you squirm, that's all.
Def Squad. Who put Daddy Mack? Is Daddy Mack part of
Crisscross?
Oh God. Okay, right.
And then you got Mac Daddy.
And finally, Domino and Doug E. Fresh. Let's go straight over to my colleague TJ. What is your choice from the letter D?
Oh man, I went first last time. No, not really. Cool. Well, I mean, again, another pretty impressive list. Actually, it's not that impressive list. No, it's quite a pretty strong list. But I mean, I think we can all agree there's only one name on there that kind of stands head and shoulders above the rest, and that would be the great, the legendary, the incomparable Daddy Mack of Crisscross. I mean, the guy is just an exceptional techno.
As soon as you picked this, I was like, my God, that is literally a whole episode.
I'm not gonna lie, I do feel a little bit like I've bitten off more than I can chew with that choice. But I shall try to succinctly cover as much about the incomparable Dr. Dre, also known as Andre Rommel Young, as his government name. So yeah, I mean, going back to NWA, one of the pillars of hip hop in the late 80s, early 90s. Moving on from NWA into the Chronic, the stuff, obviously Death Row Records, everything he did with Tupac, the work, obviously, introducing us to the likes of Snoop Dogg, moving on through to Eminem. The guy released a, incredible entrepreneur, incredible producer, not a bad rapper. produced some of the, seminal hip hop albums through the 90s and 2000s. Chronic 2001, did soundtracks as well, Deep Cover. Obviously, going back to NWA again, Straight Outta Compton, 100 Miles and Running. The guy is just an incredible talent, incredible businessman as well. He managed to shill headphones, really crap headphones, to a generation of people, and then sold them on to Apple and made a truckload more money. I don't know how he pulled that one off. But yeah, just kind of really pioneered that West Coast G-Funk style, which is, I think, probably of all the subsets of hip hop music and rap music and hip hop, I think that G-Funk sound that Dre kind of pioneered is probably one of my favorite styles of hip hop, I think. And again, it came at a time when I was skinny, impressionable little 14, 15-year-old. And
Hang on, TJ, was there a time you were little?
I was very skinny when I was in my teens. And then I ate a whole person and then became as fat as I am now. But yeah, just an incredible talent. Snoop Dogg is one of my favorite rappers of all time, and that Doggy Style album is one of my favorite albums of all time. Chronic's an incredible piece of work. Again, like Dan said, we could have a whole episode committed purely just to Dre and all his various, achievements musically. And he got quite sick a little while ago, quite recently, actually, a few years ago. Kind of disappeared from the public eye for quite a while, because I think he was quite sick for quite a while there. And there were fears that he was quite close to reaching the end of his mortal coil, but luckily he managed to get himself healthy again, and had that incredible halftime Super Bowl show with Eminem, Snoop. I think 50 was in there as well.
Mary J. Blige.
The whole bit. So yeah, the guy is just phenomenal, and I'm glad he's still with us. And it's going to be interesting to see. I'm not sure what he's doing now. I mean, he's earned enough money that he can kind of just chill now for the rest of his life and not do anything. But he's got such a creative spark. I'm sure that he will probably get something on the go again at some point. But yeah. Again, trying to keep it succinct, because the guy's got a storied career that spans 4 decades now. So, but yeah, I think that'll cover it from my perspective.
Imran, do you want to chime in?
Yeah, hard to. I mean, there's. Hang on, I've got like 8 things I want to say. He's probably got one of the most incredible reputations and legacies, I think, of any artist in hip hop. I think for his name to carry still the weight that it does, to have a label it's one of those American words, you say it English, it sounds terrible, aftermath, to have a label that houses himself, Eminem, Kendrick Lamar, and Anderson .Paak. I mean, that says everything about his current status and contribution to contemporary hip hop. For me, I know everyone goes crazy about the Chronic. For me, it was Chronic 2001. Released in 99, so don't cut me off, Dan. But I adore the record. To me, it's on a production basis. And I think not the story behind it, but the story behind it, in that it was a record, I think, that he needed to be successful. I think after leaving Death Row, he did his best to kind of distance himself from gangster rap, and he wasn't generating success as a result. And I think Chronic 2001 apparently was him making a decided return to kind of that genre, and he needed the win, I think, for his label to take off and for his name to continue with that weight. He needed it to be big. And I mean, that's just an album. I mean, God, I mean, everything on that could have been a single. It was just so good. And he produced the whole thing with a producer called Melman, who they were together for a bit, but then they just sort of, I guess, went separate ways, which is such a shame because I think the music they made together was phenomenal. But something you said, Teach, I'd love to, I mean, I don't want to go off topic too much, but we're having a 90s hip hop discussion, so I think it's pertinent. But you mentioned, you cited him as being responsible for that G-Funk sound. I mean, he's also very responsible for just gangster rap in general.
Yeah,
and
true.
There was someone who, I remember, I'll never forget this, somebody on OK Player message boards, they were debating sort of Dr. Dre's legacy, and someone said, it sounds a bit extreme, but in a way it's kind of spot on, maybe in a way, but they had said they'd never forgive him because he single-handedly handed hip-hop to the beast. And I thought that's such an interesting, I think it's an evolution that was going to happen, that it would take that turn. But I'm just curious to know what you guys thought about, I mean, what you thought about gangster rap in general, what you think about that, to be responsible, to be like the forefather of that genre. Do you think that that's specifically a good thing or not?
I think, I mean, from my perspective, I think there's a lot of stuff in gangster rap that kind of, a lot of stories and that kind of stuff that needed to be told. And I think if it wasn't Dre, it probably would have, or potentially could have been someone else. I don't know, because that kind of stuff was kind of starting to come through anyway, and I think Dre perhaps kind of molded it into a more commercially,
I think,
a more commercially viable formula for that, for telling those types of stories. But I mean that stuff was kind of out there with a lot of the street poetry and stuff that was coming through from like the 70s, the 70s and 80s. But yeah, I think you're right. Dre and NWA kind of glorified it, made it a bit more cool, made it a bit more commercially viable, and that's what caused the explosion of it, obviously. So whether that was a good thing or not, I don't know. That's a tricky one.
Wait, Dan, if I may ask.
Well, I kind of think it at least started out to some extent as black protest music. It kind of ran alongside, Public Enemy and quite a lot of other artists of that time. Definitely more extreme, and definitely, I feel like it's weird. They managed to ruffle a lot of feathers. They managed to cause more outrage with songs like "Fuck the Police" and obviously he was, almost the conductor of a lot of that. So it's interesting. I certainly know as a kid, it was really funny when I had the Chronic. That was the one album that I didn't really want to be playing when my mum came into the room. You know what I mean? It was sort of like trying to get into gangster rap when you're that young. It was quite difficult. Whereas, I think, well, even then, I mean, even if you kind of look at the lyrics and what was going on with Snoop Dogg, it wasn't much better. It just sounded a little bit more kind of laid back. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's a miracle that the guy has survived, because if you think of most of the biggest kind of players of that period in time, the biggest gangster rap aficionados, most of them have passed away or been shot. So I think it's a miracle that the guy is, a multi billionaire, and has also managed to launch so many careers. But It is.
So many bad headphones.
Well, yeah, God, I hate beats as well. But yeah, it is a bit like he kind of is the Oppenheimer of rap, isn't he?
Wow, that's a brilliant analogy.
Yeah,
That's very
it's
good.
genius.
Let's skip on straight to Imran, your choice.
I thought the D list was brilliant. Like there were so many, and I agonized over this. But I'm trying to. There's a this is just like in the B conversation that we had, where I was sort of divided between Black Thought and Busta Rhymes. So, one is a posthumous look at who I listen to say now, and one is a look. I'm trying to put my head into what I was listening to at the time and what had a bigger impact on me at the time. And I think what DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince were doing was really brilliant. I think I got into them through, I say them, I got into Will Smith basically from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And then, songs that became a great launch pad for music that they subsequently released. Summertime, I'd argue one of the greatest hip hop songs, one of the greatest songs of all time. It's just a brilliant sample, brilliantly rapped. It's just brilliant, great vibes. It's the antithesis of Dr. Dre, in that it's just purely positive, no swearing. It's it's the exact opposite of hip hop, which is a credit to kind of hip hop's range. And I think Will Smith's probably the first kind of maybe hero. Do you know what I mean? Where you have that kind of role model and you look up and you just think this guy's just amazing. And I've always, had a real strong affection for Will Smith in everything that he's gone on to do with his career and just his outlook and his perspective and just his general kind of positive energy. I know everyone's let's skip over the elephant there, but I just think he's brilliant. I'm a die-hard fan of musically of DJ Jazzy Jeff. Again, not to go too off piste, but the career that he subsequently has gone on to have post DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince is mind-blowing. But I Boom Shake the Room was such a great tune for me. I just went crazy over that song. I had it memorized. That Code Red album had a whole bunch of songs. Looking for the One, which was Teddy Riley produced tune. There was just so much. That album had Pete Rock on production as well. It's just such, yeah, it was just, it's super just positive, good-natured, fun hip hop music. And I think another reason to kind of shout them out, first rap act to ever win a Grammy, first rap act to get a 2 LP released as well. I mean, super cool, super positive, and just Will Smith, Jazzy Jeff again as a combination, just wonderful stuff.
And now over to TJ to completely ruin it.
Man, no, not really. No, I can't dispute anything Imran said there. I mean, yeah. Since its release, have you been through a summer and not heard the tune "Summertime" at some like multiple times?
Absolutely.
It's and to have the ability to release such a timeless track. That for some people might turn and say, oh, they're hip hop light or blah 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 whatever, but they never set out to be anything more than what they were. They didn't try and act tough or and like you say at the time where gangster rap was really kind of taking off and all that kind of stuff. They just kept it lighthearted. Will Smith's is a really good rapper. Jazzy Jeff's an incredible producer. In fact, I've got the Rock the House album sitting on my mantelpiece at the moment on vinyl.
Awesome.
And yeah, it's just incredible talent, really fun song. Girls Ain't Nothing But Trouble. That sort of stuff. It's just fun, lighthearted. Great wordplay. Just a really fun time. This is the way I would sum them up.
Wow, I did not expect that from you, TJ. Okay,
Better than Arrested Development, put it that way. I'm gonna reference that fucking group in every single one of these. I swear to God.
wow. Okay,
I'm gonna find a way to get them in,
we've
just so I can diss them each time.
you've unleashed something dark. Okay, well, I'm going to default my opinion to Optimus Grime, who is a massive Will Smith and Jazzy Jeff fan. So yeah, Optimus Grime, tell him what you think.
DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince were an American hip-hop duo from West Philadelphia, born and raised, consisting of rapper Will Smith and disc jockey Jeff Towns. Jazzy met Will at a house party he was DJing at. Jeff's hype man didn't show up, so Will stepped in to MC, and the rest is history. In 1989, the duo received the first Grammy Award for Best Rap Performance for Parents Just Don't Understand. They also won a Grammy for 1991 hit single Summertime, which is considered their most successful song ever. DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince became just the third rap group in recorded history to receive platinum certification after Run DMC and the Beastie Boys. They were active from 1986 to 1994. Then Smith began to pursue acting full-time, and the duo ceased producing music, although they have since worked together and claim they have never actually split. They were even sued by their record label Jive, who alleged that the duo was still under contract to create more albums. At a time when hip-hop was often defined by crime, violence, bitches, and hoes, DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince brought a more clean living style of rap, still utilizing classic jazz, soul, and funk samples, but swapping the profanity for positivity. Except that is if anyone talks about Will's wife.
Okay,
He's a
right.
smart guy, that Optimus, I tell you. I love his style.
So I would say this was a really difficult one to choose from, because I think there's so many kind of fringe artists here where I've always liked one record or maybe one song and really wanted to jump in on that, and then I thought, okay, trying to deconstruct that a little bit more and say, okay, well, not just one song, not just an album. What's a career, or at least a career in the 90s, where everything that one of these artists or groups put out really impacted me at that time. And I thought the one that I just couldn't get away from is Dale the Funky Homosapien, purely because, again, the song Mr. Dobalina was heavily being rotated on, well, I think it was radio and MTV, and it was just such a brilliant tune. And I think pretty much everything he's done, even the more obscure kind of Deltron, I don't even know, is it 3030 or 3030? I don't know how you pronounce his some of his weird and wonderful collaborations with Dan the Automator and Kid Koala. He's kind of been everywhere and done everything. He's some of the tracks he's done with Gorillaz are just some of my favorite ever collaborations. No Need for Alarm is, again, some of his, I think at least three of his earlier albums, there's not a bad song on there. There's so much that I love about it. That I don't know what you'd really call his vibe, but his vocal style is just completely different from anything else. He's had thousands of other kind of mixtapes and collaborations and soundtracks. I really love the guy. I think, again, like No Need for Alarm is which kind of came out, I think, about 93, is one of those albums that I'm never too far away from it. It's always on a playlist, and I'm always revisiting that. I wish My Brother George was here. Is a great album. Did he collaborate with? He kind of got a bit of help from Ice Cube on that one, because I think that was where he started off. He was writing lyrics for Lynch Mob, and I think that's where he started off. Anyway, Optimus Grime, can you give us? Can you confirm that and give us a bit more accurate information about Mr. Dell?
Oakland rapper Del the Funky Homosapien is the ultimate shapeshifter and king of collaboration, guesting with Gorillaz and part of hip-hop supergroup Deltron 3030, alongside Dan the Automator and DJ Kid Koala and many more. Real name Taron Delvon Jones. Del began his career writing lyrics for Da Lynch Mob. In 1991, with the help of Ice Cube, he released debut solo album, I Wish My Brother George Was Here, aged just 19, with hit single Mr. Dob Alina cementing his hip-hop fame. Del severed links with Ice Cube when creating second album No Need for Alarm in 1993, as he sought to spread his creative wings. Later he created independent hip-hop label Hieroglyphics Imperium, featuring Souls of Mischief, Casual, Pep Love, J-Biz, Domino, and many more. To date, Del has released 11 solo albums, not including his mixtapes, soundtracks, and collaborations.
Awesome. So, going to you first, Imran. Are you a big Del fan?
He's someone I've always liked. I have a good few songs, and I've never heard a full album. But I don't know if I should I take that one that you mentioned, My Brother George, as my official induction. That was his first album, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think.
Is that the one to start with, you reckon?
I think go with No Need for Alarm.
Okay.
And then go backwards. I think that would work.
Yes. Okay. But yeah, I've always liked him. I think he's Ice Cube's cousin.
Yeah.
He is. But yeah. Yes. The Gorillaz tunes I'm familiar with as well. Yeah. No. Great pick. Really good pick. Out of the box pick.
Nice. TJ.
Have to confess, I don't know. I don't really know. It's one of those ones where he's a big name into, if you're a hip hop fan, you've heard the name Del the Funky Homosapien at the very least. But I don't really know, outside of the Gorilla stuff, I don't really know much of his work. And I've heard some of the collab stuff and all that kind of thing, but I'm not really listening to any of his kind of solo stuff. So
he's got about 7 songs on the Space Jam soundtrack. Haven't you heard it?
Oh God, he probably has.
I mean, sure. But that's, again, this is the beauty of this series. It's kind of making me go, damn, I really need to catch up and listen to some of the stuff that I'm missing out on. So it's good stuff. I shall do some digging and come back at you with some Del the Funky Homosapien facts and put Optimus Grime to shame.
I think the good thing is he does some really weird stuff. I mean, he does push the boundaries. He does kind of very, the Deltron 3030 stuff. Yeah, it's quite different. He definitely is always kind of reinventing himself. I think he had at least 3 albums in the 90s, and he's remained quite prolific and kind of in vogue. Like, he's managed to remain relevant, which I think is one of the most interesting thing when you look at some of these groups and artists from this era. Is like, are they going now? Are they even if they are going now, are they having any success? So he's one that I think at least he's managed to just about kind of stick around long enough to be relevant.
I mean, I guess he's still like really well respected in the industry, right? He's not massively falling out with anyone or pissed anyone off. So people obviously still want to continue working with him.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, his lyrics can be quite controversial, but he doesn't seem to have been cancelled yet because of some of the earlier lyrics that he's come out with. Back to Mr. Mers, are there any more honorable mentions in this kind of fairly decent list we have.
Yes, there's quite a lot actually. I'll try and fly through them. Got Digable Planets. Now, this is the kind of, again, I talked about earlier about the Busta Rhymes Black Thought thing, in that I became a Roots fan after the 90s. Digable Planets, oh my god, I adore them so much. They're obviously a 90s group. They have 2 albums available, Reaching, which was their debut in 93, and then they followed up with Blowout Comb a year later. That were the only 2 albums that they've released, 2 studio albums. They have a breakout single, Rebirth of Slick, from the first album. I only got into them about 6 years ago. And so I really wrestled with whether I should put this as my actual pick, because I didn't listen to them at all in the 90s. So it just felt a bit revisionary for me to basically cite this as my absolute entry. But it's just brilliant. There's lots of kind of jazz samples in their music. It's again, Butterfly, Doodlebug, Ladybug, Mecca. And Ladybug Mecca, again, just warrants just particular mention, I think, in the way that I cited Bahamadia a couple of in our last episode. She was just this brilliant, again, this sort of flip side to a lot of the very, very, very popular and commercial mainstream rappers, from like Missy, Foxy Brown, Debrat, Little Kim. And Ladybug Mega is kind of the opposite of all of them. Just brilliant. Everything about this group I just love. Guru from Gangstar appears on the second album as well. Got a couple of cool names on that one. If you've never heard a Digable Planets record, I honestly couldn't scream about either of these 2 records. Probably Blowout Cone for me might just tip it, but I honestly think if anyone, if just the 2 of you, if you've never heard a Digable Planets record, I just can't even begin to describe the absolute joy you'll get if you pick them up and just kind of just have fun with it, because it's just great hip hop music. That's my first pick. Other one I definitely wanted to shout out, the brilliant Def Squad. Only 1 album to their name. It's Redman, Keith Murray, and Eric Sermon. Obviously, together they've made so much music together, with Eric Sermon as the kind of chief producer for both of them, their records. There's so many features, so many guest spots, but they have 1 album where they all come together on a Def Jam release called El Nino. It's really good. It's not really the best representation of any of their work, to be fair, but it's cool that the album exists, and as a unit, definitely want to shout them out. So again, so much love for Def Squad. And one we've not really mentioned, which I think is basically an honorable mention for us all, because I think we'll wait for someone else to do it. But De La Soul,
I was going to say,
don't think I know we've not mentioned them, which is funny. But I think we've all got an unwavering devotion to them, their wonderful music, and I don't think
it was
much
so
needs
funny.
to be said.
It's so funny. I looked at the list and I was like, De La Soul, and like no one's put their name next to it. I was like, wait, what? How the fuck did that happen?
I just thought everyone else was going to sort of do it. And it's an obvious one to pick in a way, but an amazing group. Again, just, part of kind of the native tongue stable. Just, again, great music, great. It's just all, even now, just to hear like a classic De La Soul just pop on the radio like randomly. It's just so much fun.
Actually,
great band.
To be fair, on the list, above De La Soul is Dr. Dre, and below it is DJ Jazzy, Jeff and the Fresh Prince. So it's no wonder we kind of glossed over that with those 2 heavyweights either side.
Yes.
I mean,
yeah,
kind of makes sense.
But yes, those are my picks. Yeah,
amazing picks. I mean, yeah, I did struggle when I saw that De La Soul hadn't been picked. I was like, oh my god, how have we managed to like?
Because they're shit.
Wow.
Okay. But they're still better than Arrested Development. Hey, there they are.
But yeah, I mean, I feel like outside of 3 Feet High and Rising, I was obviously that was one hell of an album, but I felt like I didn't follow them in any way like I should have, but yet everything else I was kind of listening to from, Jungle Brothers, Black Sheep, Tribe, there was so much crossover because, the power of the native tongues movement. And then, this is the only reason I didn't jump in with this one, was it felt like it was a lot later in the noughties, that I kind of started to really look back and kind of revisit some of the incredible tunes from the 90s and early noughties, and so much love for that groove. I mean, obviously Me, Myself and I is one of the most memorable and well known, but songs like Buddy, there's just Ring Ring Ring, incredible song, so I feel like they definitely deserve so much love, and obviously it's so tragic that they're no longer together. It feels like them and Beastie Boys, we've lost so many important artists in the last 10 years.
I mean, I think just to piggyback off what you said, like you say, I after 3 Feet High and Rising, my knowledge of De La Soul gets a little bit murky, and you're right, it's one of those things, right? When you actually sit down and do a list like this, everyone knows the big hitters, of that era around through the 90s, but then there's so many like kind of in between groups that were like on a tier below the big hitters, like a De La Soul that was super talented. That if Tribe Called Quest weren't around, maybe De La Soul would have elevated and gone on to do much bigger and more commercially better things. So that was a terrible sentence, by the way. Apologies for that. But yeah, so but yeah, super talented. But yeah, I think it was just it was a great time to be a fan of hip hop, because there was so much good stuff around, but that also meant that there were a lot of casualties. For me personally, I'm sure there are huge De La Soul fans out there that bought all their albums and followed all their works and know their stuff extensively, that will probably be pointing some sort of voodoo curse at me right now. But super cool group, yeah.
Because one thing we've talked about a lot on previous podcasts, I think on our previous sister channel, probably on Liberation Frequency, I think we've talked about the fact that you can get a lot of bad hip hop live gigs, but I wanted to just quickly shout out the fact that I was privileged enough, before David passed away, to have seen De La Soul 4 times.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, two of them were festivals. When, do you remember the London Festival, which I forget what it's now called, but I think it was London and then Brighton. There was a couple of festivals that they played at, and then I saw them twice at the Jazz Cafe. I'm guessing one of them wasn't with you, Imran, by your reaction, because I was trying to think,
Say what?
who did I go with? I must have gone to see Roots there with you then. Did I?
No.
Okay, so
You were divided.
we weren't in each
No.
other's lives ever.
No.
God, this is getting weird. Yeah, but De La Soul were absolutely flawless every time I saw them live. They were just like just so professional. They didn't miss a beat. Literally, I know that's a bit of a cliche, but yeah, just they were really fucking amazing live. So anyway, sorry, TJ, didn't mean to
That's
throw
right.
off your mentions.
Honorable mentions for me. I want to go with Digital Underground. Why can't I talk? My teeth and my tongue are just not cooperating. Digital Underground. My first pick for the honorable mentions. Again, one of those groups that didn't really kind of elevate to like that megastar status, but I always had a bit of a soft spot in my heart for them, especially like Sex Packets. Their first album was had a couple of great tracks on it, and again they were similar to like a Cypress Hill. They were just like a really fun kind of tongue in cheek group. Their lead guy Humpty Hump used to wear this crazy comedy nose and big glasses and stuff, and it was all like their videos are just kind of crazy, and Do What You Like was a fun track, and Humpty Dance was a really weird track, but also a lot of fun as well. And it was also the emergence, or the first time I think I can recall, I was introduced to a very young Tupac who was in the group or worked with the group for a little while when he first kind of broke through on the track I Get Around. And
Great tune.
Oh, nice.
awesome track. And just had a kind of P-funk kind of sound, and quite laid back, but also quite party-esque, and yeah, a lot of fun. And but what I'm going to do at this juncture, which is another reason why I like to mention them, is I'm going to hand over to Optimus Grime, because fun fact about Digital Underground is they've had a lot of members. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot of members. So, Optimus Grime, can you tell us how many members Digital Underground have had since their inception in 1987 to present?
Gee, thanks, TJ. You guys certainly give me some fun questions to search through Earth archives for answers to. Computing now. Okay, got it. Digital Underground have had 39 members in their over 35 years of existence. These include Shock G, Kenny K, Chopmaster J, DJ Fuse, Jeremy, DJ Jazzy, Jackson Tupac, DJ New Stylus, Cletus Clee, Mack, Two Fly Eli, Randy, Brooks Michael Webster, Kent Racker, Nzazi Malonga, Shmoovy Shmoov, Ramona, Pee Wee, Gooden, Saphir, Razzle, Dazzle, Essential, BINC, Young Mass Trace Ellington, Osha Savage, Metaphysical, Numschool, Macman MP, M, Stretch, Majesty Kalo, Dialect Lector, Eric Kenya Groove, Baker, Bonnie Boyer, Mystic, DOT, Ronitz Livias, Big Money Otis, Kim Morgan, MC Clever. I'll award points to anyone who noticed there are 3 people called Mack in this list. If I mispronounced any and you don't like it, get stuffed. I'm a robot, not Wikipedia. But yes, I think Dan might be Kent Racker.
Anyway, so I'll carry on from here. So yeah, Digital Underground, love them, lots of fun, bit weird, bit wacky, bit off the wall. Had like 7 albums, I think, that came out.
Really?
And
Wow, that many? Did not know.
they had quite a few. But yeah, just a lot of fun. What do you think about
Didn't is he called Humpty Hump or Young Hump? I can't remember. Or
Humpty Hump?
Or Stigger the Hump? No, he passed away, didn't he?
Yeah, I think it was last year.
Because they were really bad. As I said, like it feels like since lockdown we've lost so many great hip hop artists. But I absolutely adored not so much the Humpty Dance because it was a bit, I don't know, a bit overplayed. But
It was
songs
very
like
wacky.
yeah, songs like Do What You Like was I like to bite. Or sometimes I bite. I don't know if I've got that lyric right, but we talked about alcoholics, and it feels like they had the same kind of fun, kind of party atmosphere, and they were all a bit. I don't know. They were just like the naughty little boys doing all the kind of schoolyard jokes, and nothing was kind of off limit.
So another one of my honorable mentions is the Mr. DMX himself, angriest rapper that ever existed. DMX was, at the time when he came out, it really felt like a might sound a bit weird considering his rapping style, but he felt like a bit of a breath of fresh air to a certain extent. It sounds a bit weird, but again, kind of as he kind of broke through, and he kind of leaned more into the 2000s. To be fair, is when he kind of really kind of took off, I think. But like his first album, name of which escapes me. Why am I being stupid? Was it just X? Was the first album?
Um,
No, it's not. It's Dark and Hell is Hot. That's the one. Um, that was a hell of an album, and it was aggressive. It was rough. It was dark. It was. It was just basically like a punch in the face, essentially, repeatedly for many tracks. But super creative, and I just remember just being blown away the first time I heard it. And obviously, he had a few more albums after that, which I don't know if he kind of hit as much success like sales wise with his later albums, but he also branched into a bit of acting and that sort of stuff as well, and kind of diversified a bit. But unfortunately, he also had his fair share of demons, and kind of bounced in and out of jail quite a few times. Had issues with drugs and whatnot, and unfortunately passed away in 2021. Also very young, at 50 years old. So, but yeah, just for kick your teeth down your throat style of hip hop that he kind of came through with in his earlier years. I had to give him a honorable mention. And the last honorable mention for me, and this is purely a personal one, because I have a few kind of vinyl records from since I was a kid, actually, which have kind of been stuck up in my mum's loft for a while. And one of them was a 12-inch single by Dougie Fresh. And on the A side, it's got The Show, and on the B side, it's got La Di Da Di, rapped by Slick Rick. And it's been with me ever since I was a kid. And I think it's the first like hip hop like record I ever owned, including CDs and whatnot. And it might be 80s, probably 80s as well, actually. So I'm stretching the rules a little bit, but yeah, Dougie Fresh has to get a bit of a shout out for me because again, possibly a lesser known one, but at a time when beatbox was a real thing, he was like, he was known as the human beatbox, and some of the stuff that he could do was just ridiculous. And I know beatboxing kind of went a bit out of style through the 90s, but if you listen to some of his stuff, it's like the stuff that he could do was just a bit insane. You're like, how can someone make those kind of noises with their mouth? But that was my other honorable pick.
Nice. Imran, do you have any strong things on Dougie Fresh and DMX?
DMX, yeah, I wanted to shout, great pick. It's funny because I think hip hop, so particularly in the 90s, you needed people like that. You needed that inverted commas angry kind of rapper, the ones you buy into, and it's funny, that was his reputation. But to me, the best song he ever made was Slippin', which was a real, kind of smooth, mellow, sincere and personal tune. I just think it's a masterpiece of 90s hip hop. But he was, again, the stigma outweighed him a little bit in terms of he did have that rapport, but he did have that ability to just do so many different things. And I think we forget kind of how big he was. I think particularly in the States, he was huge at that time. And I guess, yes, it's sort of a shame it kind of went the way it did. But yeah, his moment certainly can't be overlooked. I mean, he was everywhere for a while. It was labels were fighting to sign him. Yeah, just he was awesome. I was a big fan of what he was doing at the time, and yeah, awesome stuff. Great pick.
I always remember him being on so many different soundtracks as well. And I don't know if you can add this, if this is acceptable to put in the list, because I think it came out in the noughties. But I love X Gone Give It To You is one of the best tracks because it became even more popular because it was on the re-released on the Deadpool soundtrack.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Awesome. Well, I'll just do one final honorable mention to just to kind of wrap things up, I think. And I know we've talked about. I don't know if it's like one hit wonders is a bit of an unfair way to look at it, but certainly kind of almost like one album wonders that kind of came along in the 90s that were incredible albums, but it felt like that they laid a foundation and then never really kind of built on it. And another one of those is definitely Das Effects, who
Nice.
their first album was just awesome. They Want Effects is probably the most well known from them at that time. I think it was getting a lot of airplay. But to be fair, I mean, obviously that was off their debut album, Dead Serious. But I feel like Straight Up Suicide was also is a really awesome album. So if either of you have kind of stuck with Dead Serious, I would say Straight Up Suicide is just as good. The three albums that came out after that, well, actually, technically, sorry, the third album came out in 2003, so we can't really count that. But the two albums that came out of that whole out after that, Hold It Down and Generation FX, were again, decent, but I think by that time it felt like the hip hop world had moved on a bit. But yeah, I remember kind of triumphantly coming home from a record shop with my cassette of Straight Up Suicide, a very happy man, well, happy kid at that time.
Got those two. Straight Up Suicide. I was so happy.
I would challenge you. You know how most of the time you listen to, hip hop and you listen to it enough, you start to learn the lyrics and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Do you remember the lyrics to any Das Effects tune? Because I listened to a bit of Das Effects back in the day, and they used to come out with some wild shit. And it'd be fast, and it wouldn't make any sense. Well, it would make sense, but it'd be like, I have no idea what you just said, but it sounded fucking cool.
Well, that is the thing. I think I kind of feel like them, and maybe there was quite a few groups a little bit like them that had that. I wouldn't say it's not mumble rap but it was just really fast, intense.
Yeah, it was definitely not mumble rap. Like mumble rap that as we know it today, it was not that, because it was, you could understand what they was like, what they were saying was clear and fast, but you couldn't. It's kind of hard to explain.
Yeah, no,
without
no.
it sounding like mumble rap, but yeah.
I know exactly what you mean because
Fushnikins, the guy in the Fushnikins as well was had that similar kind of style, that like really rapid, and Buster does it a little bit as well. That rapid, like fast paced rap that's clear, but it's almost ununderstandable. That's not a word. Like you can't quite understand what they're saying, but it's clear enough that it kind of forms. I'm explaining it poorly, but yeah.
No, you're not. No, it generally they had more syllables in one verse than humanly possible. I'm gonna give an example of it, and I'm not gonna try and rap it, but they want effects. There's one verse which is the jibbity jabber jaw jabbing at your funny bone, skip the Ovaltine, I'd rather have my honeycomb, or preferably the Sinsemilla, let's spiggity spark the blunts, yeah, and
What are
yeah,
you talking about?
it's literally it's almost like their brain is going 30 miles per hour faster than the actual
Yeah.
vocals. But it was, I think that was very much the East Coast hardcore style. And that was, one of the things I really liked. So many different artists who were kind of in that kind of bracket. I mean, I feel like Onyx was kind of similar. I mean, Fushnikins is a good example. Lords of the Underground. I mean, even, I think Nas was quite capable of rapping at that speed. Maybe Smith and Weston. So Smith and Wesson. I never understand why it's said like that, but yeah, I mean, these guys were kind of, they were, again, this is something I should probably check with Optimus Grime, but they were sort of affiliated with EPMD as well, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was weird. At least they were kind of part of that, or at least friends with different members of that group, which I think got quite nasty because EPMD broke up, and that started another massive series of hot beef. But yeah, I think they did stuff with Sean Paul, Ice Cube. There's quite a lot of. Despite the fact I feel like they again, and again we've said this so many times, but they never really got the love and the career that I think they should have had, because at one point they seemed to be a massive breakout artist who were just going to keep going. But it feels like a lot of acts like them, some of the ones we've kind of reeled off already, just seemed to, when it came to, past 2000, they died and disappeared. I think that was the only honorable mention that I wanted to pick out, because you guys have really done a stellar job in covering everything else. I mean, obviously, I can't believe none of us have chosen Daddy Mack from the Legends Crisscross to do. I mean, maybe that's something for another episode.
Well, I'm waiting until we get to K so I can just do crisscross, because if you're talking about Daddy Mac, you kind of have to talk about Mac Daddy. They kind of go, I'd feel
Is that
bad.
really their names?
Yeah.
Yes, dude.
Daddy Mac, I remember.
How do you not?
Mac Daddy was the other one.
Yeah.
Because I think that was a theme that one was the reverse of the other, and hence
like the trousers.
Yeah, like the trousers, and fucking hell.
Could do a whole episode on them.
We really could. But yeah, I think a final shout out to Domino again. I do remember listening to quite a lot of Domino and even Diplomats, I think, and Debrat. I don't remember listening to much, but more like showing up on collaborations. Does that sound right? I don't know.
Yeah. She was with Jermaine Dupri and So Def Records, and yeah, she was fairly prominent as a featured artist.
Yeah,
at that period. So yeah.
Yeah, but I think she kind of came through more maybe like noughties than 90s. But again, I could be.
No, she was 90s.
Yeah.
She wasn't okay.
Yeah, Funkified was I want to say 96, 97.
Okay, maybe late 90s.
I guess. Yeah.
Oh, for heaven's sake, always bailing Dan out. Okay, so Da Brat, known also under her government name Shantae Harris, was born and raised in Chicago on April 14, 1974. Her debut album, Funkified, came out in '94 and sold over 1 million copies, making her the first ever solo female rap act to receive a platinum certification. Famous for title track Funkified and 97's Not Tonight, featuring Missy Elliott, Lil Kim, Lisa Left Eye Lopez, and Angie Martinez. Dabrat also had success with Jermaine Dupri on I Think They Like Me. She is friends with Mariah Carey and featured and remixed her songs including Lover Boy, Always Be My Baby, Honey, and many more. And despite these asshats claiming she was just a 90s hip-hop artist, she did release her third full-length album, Unrestricted, in 2000. Dabrat has more recently appeared on the reality TV series The Rap Game and Growing Up Hip-Hop Atlanta as a mentor to young talent.
But yeah, I mean, she was, whenever I heard her either kind of solo or doing kind of collaborative stuff, I was always, massively impressed. But yeah, I'm pretty sure she's collaborated with Missy Elliott. Even probably, I don't know if I've misremembered this, but I think she also did stuff with Salt and Pepper, Ludacris, maybe. Anyway, but yeah, I just wanted to give her a call out because, I think she was definitely one of the best 90s female hip hop artists. Let's revisit what we think of Arrested Development. No,
Absolutely fucking not.
Tennessee, 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 Tennessee.
I will shit in your slippers.
Wow. Well, surely you've got a cat to do that for you, so you don't even have to. But that's
it's more personal if I do it myself.
Okay. Well, I understand that. Well, guys, I mean, I'm pretty impressed. We got through C and D in this episode, so massive amount of kudos to you both. As always, a pleasure. We will be back very soon for, well, maybe E and F. We'll have to see. Oh dear, that wasn't meant to be a joke.
I love how that maybe E and F. I mean, where
I'm not sure where else are we going to go with that.
Well, I mean, we could just
revisit the Greek alphabet, shall we, for the next episode?
Just skip straight to H. We could skip to what was
No, we're doing E and F, right? No, we're doing E and F.
We'll do K another time for Christopher. But yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you both. And
thank you, Dan.
Tune in soon when we get our act together and we hit the letter E and the letter F. Thank you very much.
Now this is a song all about how my life got flipped, turned up eyebrow. Whoa, what? I didn't mean literally.
Won't take long, just a minute, you see.
We'll tell you how we became Bert and Ernie. Ernie, help! On Sesame Street, born and raised, learning letters, numbers, singing sunny days. Growing up, moving, flying the coop. Said bye-bye to my mommy off to 1 to 3 stoop. There I met a grouch who didn't smell too good. Told me to scram, leave the neighborhood. It was then I remembered what my mom used to say.
Keep your head up, be kind, and you'll find your way.
I said hello when I got near. He said,
oh, what's that? I got a banana in my ear.
Wanna be friends who laugh, learn, and share? Ernie pointed to the seat and said,
sit right there.
Showed him the paper clips, he thought they were great.
Introduced him to Rubber Ducky as our new roommate.
One half of a whole, one part of a pair.
That's the story of how we became Ernie and Bert. Put it there. Oh, Bert, that was terrific. Hey, let's go again.
Again? What do you mean?
Hold on, Rubber Ducky.
No.